was great. Bass clarinet. Pretty badass. Why are we using Skype instead of Zoom? Not Skype. Zoom? See this? Okay. So Zoom has censored quite a few friends of mine. A lot of Chinese dissidents were actually based in the United States. Last year in 2020, Zoom shut down accounts of these dissidents when they were planning to host an online forum on the, commemorating the Tiananmen massacre, which I survived. Apparently, Zoom has, I think, 700 staff members in China, and most of are actually operated out of China. And so the censorship is very rife. What's worse about it, even Zoom admitted it submitted the users' data, especially those guys who are in China, to the Chinese government upon the request from Beijing. And this is a big no-no because Zoom is an American company. It's like the typical thing of the world we live in now. American government, Western governments have been appeasing China, the Chinese government for so long. Not long after it finished sanctioning China after the Tiananmen massacre. So to protest, to boycott Zoom, and also to feel more secure. So we're doing Skype. Fuck Zoom. See this? Zoom, run by a Chinese American. Actually, that guy is born and raised in China, so he's pretty pinky. We call such people Little Pinky. Little Pink is 小粉红, patriotic, the so-called patriotic Chinese who are actually foreign citizens living outside China. How is my guitar too? You fucking kidding me? Look at these strings. They're all over the place, right? Like, some guy were jamming. Some guy wanted to, who was playing sings, wanted to swap with me. I said, yeah, sure. I love playing sings. Here's the guitar. Go for it. And he was like, what are these strings? And I said, well, they're all over the place because I never tuned them. I tune guitar when I'm playing. And thanks to bandmate James Tweedy, who suggested, why don't you just tune it, play with the strings as I play, right? Just, one of the shit I do when I feel like it. I'm out of tune, out of this world, out of the box. What is the latest news from Hong Kong? Latest news from Hong Kong? COVID-wise, it's horrible. It's not as horrible like here. 10 people have died after receiving vaccinations. 9 of them died of Sinovac, China-made vaccinations. And who knows how many people in China have died after Sinovac, China-made vaccinations. So people have been saying everything out of China is fake, except for this virus. COVID-19 virus is very real. The pandemic is very real. And another thing about Hong Kong is that a number of pro-democracy legislators, lawyers, leaders, former founding chairman of Democratic Party in Hong Kong, Martin Lee, whom I met numerous times. Last time I met him, I saw him was anniversary of Tiananmen massacre when he came to speak at the Overseas Press Club at the forum. He was a panelist. I was one of the panelists, and now he's facing jail time. He's 82, I think. Not to mention Jimmy Lai, the founder and the chairman of Apple Daily, Next Media, very pro-democracy tabloid. In Hong Kong, Jimmy Lai, I think he's over 72, 75. He's not on bail. He's been detained since before Christmas. So not to mention a bunch of other democratically elected legislators, they have either been convicted, sentenced, or are waiting for their sentencing. So basically, and basically, fighting for freedom and democracy in Hong Kong is according to China's national law, security law. It's not a law. Whatever they said, it's their rule or rules. And for those young activists who attempted to leave Hong Kong, bound for Taiwan, they got intercepted by the Chinese Marine Police, I think, and Coast Guards, and taken to China. And now they have been sentenced. I think one of them, Andy Lee, missing. He's still unaccounted for. So, the Chinese government is very good at disappearing people, detaining people. And Hong Kong now, millions of people are to join the mass exodus, just like the mass exodus after Tiananmen massacre in 1989. And now millions of Hong Kongers are fleeing Hong Kong. The government has said it's going to accept them and recognize the BNO, British citizens overseas, and they're going to get the Hong Kongers who go to UK, who have that kind of passports, they can get residency in UK. Some of them are coming here. So our outcome, even if it was delayed by the pandemic, now it's still timely, unfortunately, because the Hong Kong crisis is going deeper by the day. I really admire the people who still remain in Hong Kong, continuing their fight. And the daring ones, the courageous ones, they still go to those court hearings or outside the courtrooms offering support, knowing by doing so, they may be indicted and may be convicted and jailed as well. So Hong Kong is fucked. We knew that, but, it's just so bad and so blatant. So we're dedicating this album to Hong Kong, thanks to your suggestion. Very idealistic American youth, yeah. Hong Kong solidarity, appreciated. Why? Be water. Be water, a lot of people think be water, a slogan frequently used and shouted out by protesters in 2019 in Hong Kong and also outside Hong Kong or in the rest of the world. A lot of people thought they were quoting Bruce Lee. Sure, Bruce Lee said something similar to that, but I think be water or be water, well, with British accent, which most of the Hong Kongers speak with, be water. Be water actually stems from Taoism. There are a few lines, chapters written about water by Lao, the founding father of Taoism, and he's famous for saying in his Tao Te Ching, he only wrote one book, by the way, 15 chapters, Every chapter is very short, but lots of chapters were dedicated to water. He said water is the weakest, but it can destroy everything. And water is also flexible because it can be poured into the shape of a mug. Then the water inside the mug, the shape of the mug. And if you pour it into a glass, it's the shape of a glass. So water is everywhere. Water is very flexible. Water takes all sorts of shapes. But water is ubiquitous, proliferates, water spreads everywhere, and water is essential. So when you look into water, then you know the Hong Kong progressive movement, pro-independence movement will carry on like water. Now the Hong Kong refugees, exiles, they go around the world, like Tibetan refugees, Uyghur refugees, exiles. And the good thing about exiles is that we take the world while being exiled. So we're water everywhere. And also Lao Tzu also said, the ocean, why is the ocean so big? Because the ocean as a body of water is at the lowest. All the rivers and creeks, whatever, they go into the ocean. And the ocean takes everything, right? The name, the title, the Dalai Lama means ocean of wisdom. So, be water, be an ocean, and being very pervasive, appearing very weak, but can be very, very strong and destructive and deadly. And it's also very essential. So it's the whole movement. So some Western media outlets have called the movement in Hong Kong in 2019 because it was really funny. People are saying, hey, there's a name for umbrella revolution in Hong Kong 2014, Tiananmen Movement, and 2019, what is it? Is there a name? So, some Western news outlets started to name it the water revolution. The water, right? What is hollering among mountains? In Sichuanese, 后山歌, 后山歌. Ho is holler. San, mountains, hills. Go, songs. It's a way of singing in Sichuan and Tibet and big mountains in China, in neighboring countries like East Turkestan and Tibet. Is the way of belting out all notes in a natural setting, say in a big valley in front of the mountain, using natural settings like the mountains or valleys and the echo chamber. So the way I sang, in especially in home. I really imagined myself standing on top of a mountain or facing big ocean or big valley, belting out and crying out, where is home? 家在哪儿? And it's the way of with your environment. You use the environment you're in to be part of it, and to be part of it acoustically as well, and of course spiritual connection, all that shit. It's really use a very trendy Mandarin phrase, is 接地气, is to connect with the qi, the spirit, the energy of the earth. To feel it, you feel it because you let your voice, your body be totally connected with the nature, the natural settings you are singing in. It's a very spiritual way of singing, I would say. And of course, the simplest way to tell people, because I don't expect everybody to appreciate or understand this method. I don't give a fuck. I just say, oh, I'm just yelling. Yeah, yelling. Yelling is part of, it's a kind of a vocalization, hollering, ho, 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 山歌 ho, ho. This Sichuanese word is already kind of vocalization, right? Ho, ho, ho 三歌, ho 两声. Yeah, I feel much better after ho 三歌. ho 两声, ho 两声就舒服了. I feel much better after hollering among the mountains. Let it out, off the chest. Tell me about somewhere beautiful in Sichuan. Too many places. I think the most beautiful thing about Sichuan is its people, Sichuanese. You can tell, you can get a taste of Sichuanese as a people, as a culture, as an identity in our food. In a way, I'm kind of a Sichuan chauvinist. I really think Sichuanese food is the best in the world. Sure, I like other kind of cuisines, but now I really think Sichuanese food is badass. And no bullshit. It's spicy, it's mala, using, like very, very unusual spices, herbs like huajiao, flower pepper, or, Westerners call it Sichuan peppercorn. It gives you this sensation. Maybe it's like playing a horn, the buzzing in your mouth. So it's a whole... how can I say, what do you call it, the whole sensation of your mouth, not just the taste, the smell of the, or the texture, the touch of the food. The chilies will set your body on fire, while the huajiao will set your whole mouth buzzing, and you end up having more saliva, and you more. So I always joke to people, it's our drug. So Sichuanese people are a bit like that. It's no bullshit. You look at me, then you know what I mean. Very passionate people, pretty smart, pretty sharp, but in a very earthy way, not arrogant. We're very, very earthy people, mountain people. I really drew a lot of energy or qi from the mountains, the big mountains of Sichuan. And the people are so warm and hospitable and very, very generous, and a lot of fun to be with, always cracking jokes. And, I was chilling too. When you go to Chengdu, you see all these guys, eating like sunflower seeds. They can do it for like a whole afternoon while playing mahjong or shangqi, Chinese chess, or weiqi, or the Japanese name for it is go. And just chilling, laid back. To me, it's a kind of Australians as well. Like that's why, like when I was in Australia, I was like, oh right, I'm familiar with this thing. Very, very laid back. It's like, yeah, the world's a fucking mess, but we're chilling and we're having fun, cooking some good shit to eat, get some good alcohol to drink. And oh, by the way, Sichuan is famous for like 五粮液. And Sichuan women have a reputation, all right? So Sichuan women are famous for being very feisty and argumentative. So don't get into a fight with a Sichuanese woman. Like be careful. If you get into a fight argument with a Sichuanese woman, you're dead. Just don't even go there. Sichuan, the most beautiful, the most famous mountain is Ebeishan, which is a Buddhist sacred mountain. A lot of Buddhist pilgrims go up there. I've been there a couple of times, and it's really, really beautiful. And on top of Ebeishan, there's this weird phenomenon on sunrise. If you go there, if it's it's a sunny day, and you see lots of clouds below, because the mountain is about 3,800 meters above sea level or something. Anyway, so then they have this Buddha. It's called the Buddha Aura, Fu Guang, Fo Guang. You will see yourself with a big hollow standing among the clouds during the sunrise, and you can wave at yourself. You can even see yourself. It's a very weird, what do you call it? Kind of light illusion thingy. And some people even ended up jumping off the cliffs, thinking they're going to heaven. So a lot of places like that. Not to mention Sichuan neighbors, Tibet. So a lot of the big mountains on the way to Tibet, and you see they're just spectacular. Panda are from the area, near Tibet. And so both Sichuan and Tibet, the mountainous areas, very, very special. And these people say, "Oh, you're from China, Kung Fu Panda." Well, that's shit. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say Panda is China, but Panda is Tibet and Sichuan. So, you got Panda, Sichuan food, feisty Sichuanese people, and Sichuanese opera. I used to hate this shit. My grandfather, who introduced me to calligraphy, who's a calligrapher, was working for the Sichuanese Opera Research Institute, the Sichuanese Provincial Opera, Provincial Sichuanese Opera in Sichuan Shenchuan Yuan. So Provincial Sichuanese Opera troupe. And he hated the shit because it's too loud. Now he preferred Peking opera. But now I started to appreciate Sichuanese opera, because what's great about Sichuanese opera is because it's so loud, is because it adopts that Hosango hollering among mountains, kind of vocalization, because it's not exactly that, but it's along the same line, and the vocalization without any instrumentation is a special feature in Sichuanese opera called qingyin. Literally means clear sounds. It's just vocalization, either solo or choir kind of thing. The percussion is fantastic. I've got some gongs and cymbals friends in Sichuan gave me, and I've been practicing, but in our album, because we're in Seattle, so I didn't have any of those with me, but we have performed together while I use gongs and cymbals, and making some noises, very, very special, unique noises. So, another thing great about Sichuan, you're talking about beautiful places, right? Is the diversity of the terrains. I grew up in Chengdu, which is all plain, full of bamboo groves, thatched huts, like that poem, The Night Trip on Yellow Sand Road, talking about thatched hut. Part of the reason why I chose that is because that kind of scenery, even though it wasn't set in Sichuan, but it really reminded me of Chengdu. Like the frogs singing, cicadas singing and being loud, and bamboo groves. and the thatched huts and the little temple and little bridge. It is very idyllic, and or you get the big mountains in Chongqing. So the box shoulder pole is a song originally from that area, which is the Chengdu is in the western part of Sichuan, and Chongqing is more to the northeastern part of Sichuan. So around there, near there, there are some groups, tribal groups, and one of them is the Tujia Ren. So this song, box shoulder, originally was from that area. So you will see from the songs, then the songs, the music, operas reflect, and the cuisines too. Actually, Chongqing cuisine and Chengdu cuisine, they are different. Now Chongqing is a separate municipality answering directly to Beijing. So Chongqing don't want Cantonese anymore, and they even say their food is Chongqing cuisine, which is not Sichuanese cuisine. And Chongqing cuisine is famous for one very, very famous thing. It's called pat. That's originally from Chongqing. And I think developed by these people, the boat people who lived on the boat, who worked on the boat. It's a much easier way of cooking food instead of like stir fries and all that shit, and doing dumplings. It's just not practical. So, and for poor people, hot pot is the awful in Sichuan is the cheapest. Then you get spicy going on. It covers all the odd smells of offal or whatever. Poor people's. But now it's very, very popular around the world, and Chongqing is very, very beautiful. It's where my art school, which changed my life forever. Sichuan Fine Art Academy. I went to the high school part for 3 years. My love of music was endorsed by the underground rock and roll disco parties. The bootleg cassettes we played, boom boxes we danced to, those UK bands and American bands. Nobody knew because they're bootleg cassettes without any labeling, so nobody knew. A compilation of songs and musicians and bands, so nobody knew what bands there were and what musicians there were, and we could not understand music. I could understand the lyrics, very, very little lyrics. Like I remember one song, it took me a long time because the only 2 words I understood from the lyrics is Funky Town by Lips Inc. Years later, I discovered it's that song. So it's hard to say, name a people in Sichuan. Yeah, too many. Yeah, I don't want to play favoritism, Chongqing is a really fun city. Party town, funky town. Just shit I do when I feel like it. The shit I do. Pretty much anything, right? Definitely playing music, talking, hiking, eating. Not a big drinker, but I do like good beer, partying, dancing, chilling, doing nothing. Else? Yeah, sex, drugs, rock and roll. Nah, that's too general, too boring. Where is home? Yeah, it's a perennial question, huh? Where's home? Nhà tại哪儿? 家在哪儿？家在哪儿？ I came up with this line when I was trying to get some melodies when I was practicing solo with drum. And this question came to my mind. Then it dawned on me. It's a perennial question to me forever, ever since I can remember. When I was little, we moved a few times and very squalid conditions, sharing one bedroom with, my mom, my sister, many years. Well, my dad was locked away. And when I visited him in Mianyang, another city in Sichuan, and he didn't have a home. He was in a dormitory with other male colleagues. And eventually, when he had his own bedroom, his own home, literally it's his studio. He named it 纸笔斋, Paper Wall Studio. 纸笔斋. Zai is a scholarly classical Chinese name for a scholar studio or office or artist's studio. It's called Zai. Paper wall meaning the walls are made of paper. So his home actually was made of stage sets, literally paper and canvas on stretchers. It was really cold and windy in the winter. And he was basically living in a little room made by stage sets he made, because his main job was a stage set designer. I remembered helping him painting stage sets, like using mops and brooms. It was a lot of fun, but I did not realize it was pretty harsh condition. But for a kid, it was really, really fun. And later on, I moved around in China. I lived in so many places. I lived in a dormitory in Chongqing in my Sichuan Fine Arts Academy. I was sharing with 4 other girls on bunk bed in a dormitory, no electrical fans, no AC, and infested with cockroaches and rats. And back home, the little bedroom I shared with my mom and sister, and later on my dad joined us, 4 people sharing one bedroom, about like 12 square meters. I don't know. It's about less than 300 square feet. And for a long time, I shared a bed with my sister as well. It's like we don't have both heads on the same side of the bed. We like swap. Now we're always complaining about each other's smelly feet, kicking each other's face, and no private bathroom. I lived without a private bathroom for a long time. And always ate in cafeterias. So to this day, I'm really clumsy with chopsticks, because eating in cafeterias, we used a spoon and a fork and chopsticks. If you lose one chopstick, you're fucked, right? So that's why we didn't use chopsticks. And then at college in Beijing, I shared with 4 other girls, 5 other girls on bunk beds in dormitory again. And then I moved to Sydney, and in Sydney, I moved around. I was so broke, and then I moved to Perth. And then my boss at the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, when I was doing radio, wanted to get rid of me because I'm not white. I'm the only Asian reporter there, so they moved me around to other outposts in the outbacks, Karratha, Kalgoorlie, Geraldton, very remote mining towns. And I lived in houses sharing with my colleagues. And then I moved to Hong Kong, and I was renting, and I moved around as well. And and I here, and I feel homeless. I don't own any property. I don't own anything, and I don't feel welcomed here either because the color of my skin. Fuck this. So for a person like me, I love the place where I am. Foreign correspondents told me, American journalists I met in Hong Kong told me, because they move around, foreign correspondents, but on company expenses, right? Not like me. It was my expenses, my own savings. Nobody was supporting me, giving me money. Not my. So home is always an issue. Now I'm a 52-year-old couch surfer, homeless. Maybe it's just the way I'm meant to be, a nomad, because I'm a Mongol, nomadic, can't help it. Yeah, I'd like to find a place where I feel I'm appreciated, I'm accepted, but not assaulted, harassed, and threatened, right? China, that's where I'm from. I cannot go back. I'm not welcome there. It's dangerous for me to go back to China. Hong Kong, I cannot go, right? Too dangerous. It's because, I say shit the government doesn't like. I protest for democracy. I help people who protest for democracy, human rights. They don't like it because for them, it's okay for them to have multiple mansions and shit. And it's not okay for us to fight for one ballot paper, right? It's ridiculous. So it's a price I paid, being homeless. 52-year-old couch surfer, being homeless, and asking myself, 家在哪儿？家在哪儿？ Where is home? Yeah, fucking homeless. Fucking pissed off I'm homeless, and I'm not welcomed in America. I'm gonna make them welcome me. Fuckers. Okay, you got to appreciate immigrants like me. You guys got a really sweet deal because, we work hard and we're not stupid, all right? What? What is the goddess of democracy? It was a mixed view about this. It's kind of a symbol of Tiananmen Movement because it was towards the last few days of the movement just before the massacre happened, which we did not expect. Some art students, art professors in Central Art Academy, they made this big female figure holding a torch with bob hair. Her posture is really pretty much like a Statue of Liberty. Or Lady Puberty, as my daughter Mimi called it. It's Lady Puberty because, America is still at its puberty. And Goddess of Democracy is a bad copy of that, but it also has the, the remnants of communist propaganda shit. So her hairstyle and her expressions and the facial structures and the way like she was sculpted looked actually more like a young Chinese communist revolutionary martyr called Liu Lan. Basically a young spy who was she was 16 or something, and she was featured in a lot of propaganda art and even school textbooks, which was bullshit. I never believed in that. So when the statue was erected, Tiananmen Square facing this portrait at the gate, Bao's portrait basically usually is on top of a gate as front of the Forbidden City, facing Tiananmen Square. It's been there since now, 70 years, and it's kind of creepy. It's because it's a fat bastard, bald, and no facial hair. He's very creepy face. Anyway, so Goddess of Democracy was erected, I think in early June, just a few days before the massacre. It really boosted the morale of the movement because by then people got a bit tired and confused, and and the number of people in the square started to dwindle. And then the erection of the Goddess of Democracy drew crowds into the square. So to this day, her symbol, miniature, or the pictures of her, photos or drawings of her are still banned in China. And if you're inside China, if you try to Google, forget it. You won't be able to find her, right? Even the number 89, which is the year of Tiananmen Movement and massacre, and 64, so 8964. 64 is June 4th, the date of the massacre. Even those numbers are banned. So images of Goddess of Democracy is banned, but dare I say, it's a bad piece of sculpture. I'm not into it. As a symbolism thing, sure, go for it. It's one of those things in history, like the Chinese way of saying it is 以恶传恶. So some random shit happening against this big backdrop of some major historical event. Say, for example, why is it called Umbrella Revolution in Hong Kong? It's because the protesters, they were sprayed, pepper spray by the cops, and they were really clever. Hong Kongers are incredibly innovative and smart. So they hold umbrellas to defend themselves from pepper spray. Even though it wouldn't protect them from tear gas, but it's still a big help. And now we saw the protesters in Thailand, in Burma, they're using umbrellas too. So some random shit like that, and the whole movement is called the Umbrella Revolution, right? So, Goddess of Democracy, bad piece of sculpture, Tiananmen Square, which was crushed by the tanks right in front of my eyes outside when the massacre was happening on the morning of 4th of June, 1989, and now became a symbol of the whole movement. I was like, fuck, I fucking hate that piece of sculpture, and now I have to see it all the time. I talk about it. And people put that shit, like as the backdrop, or they incorporate it every time if they do some film, some TV reports about Tiananmen, they have to stick that bad sculpture there. I was like, I'm a sculptor myself. This is my fucking curse. Goddess of Democracy for me is the ordinary citizens and the ordinary students and the participants, male or female, those people, especially those during that time, not just in Beijing, also in my hometown, Chengdu. For me, they're gods and democracy in China. Bad sculpture. It's like bad robot. What is that? I can't see. What is 意境? 意境. Yi Jing is the essence of a piece of art. Here, I'm not just saying visual art, okay? Music and literary arts, writing, whatever. It's the environment, the soul that's conjured up by this piece of music, this piece of art. Yi means the meaning. In colloquialism, it meaning of life, the meaning of the universe, the meaning of whatever. 境, 环境, 环境 is a phrase for the environment. Right? 境 is really the setting, the surrounding. It's the abstract. The invisible, the essence of the universe. The thing. Thing is the multiverse that houses the thing. The multiverse is the thing. So, is the kind of thing that conjures up the thing in you. When you see it, when you hear it, you're there. You're in this setting, conjured up by this music, by this visual thing, right? And it's basically the thing, right? Even for native speakers, it's really hard to grasp. It's the vagueness of what is in China. Very poetic, very vague, a lot of suggestions and metaphors. So, for example, there's a great literary critic. What's his name? I can't remember. Somebody Wang. He talked about the two different kinds of yi jing in poetry, in classical Chinese poetry. There's Da, the big me, and Xiao Wo, the small me. So Da Wo really is my connection with the universe, even though the poem could be just 长河落日圆. It's very similar to haiku, all right? Haiku is what people think, oh, haiku, okay, that's in Japan. But for thousands of years, in classical Chinese literature, the classical poetry is pretty much is that. Let's not get into the nation conflict here. So, 长河落日圆 literally means long river, falling sun, bound. And this is called, Yi Jing is the big me. Me and the universe, kind of Yi Jing. Xiao Wo, it's more like the id, the ego, right? So, a good example is this poem, this line in the poem, like 泪眼望花花不语，乱红飞过秋千去。Teary eyes ask the flowers. The flowers have no words. Messy red flying over to the swings. Messy red here means, because you can imagine this person is feeling sad. Is me, the id, the ego here. Not the ego, right? The ego journey, I would say. I'm feeling sad in the spring. I'm teary eyes. I'm talking to the flowers, and the flowers are speechless. And through my tears, I see the falling flower petals flying. No wonder it's messy red, because I'm looking at the flying, the fallen flower petals through my tears. So it's messy red, right? Flying over to swings. So this kind of yijing is 小我, small 我, small me. So you get an idea now? The yijing. So it's really the spiritual environment, the piece of art, music, whatever, literature conjures up. That's the power of art. I'm getting thirsty. Gotta finish my flat beer. No more! Yay! Yeah, we got to talk about the band. Roses and Roses. We're not naming certain people. Right? So the yijing created by the band was phenomenal. I really think I had never expected it would go so smoothly. It was my first time to do recordings. Only my second time to be in a recording studio in the United States. Of course, when I was working as a radio journalist and documentary maker in Australia, excuse me, that was my job. Every day I was in a fucking recording studio. But to me, that was a very intimate setting. It's just a microphone, right? And me to the audience, to the listener, or me and another person, the interviewee. So in Seattle, in that recording studio, the 4 hours of waiting around, that really helped. I was checking out the backyard and the flowers. I really like the flowers. The recording engineer and his girlfriend had all these pots of flowers on top of an abandoned old truck. And the two band members brought incense sticks and did this ceremonial thingy to pay tribute to the location. I mean, feng shui shit, it's good shit. Feng means wind. Shui means water. So the location, the surrounding, the settings, you absorb the qi, the energy we absorbed in our studio for 4 hours when the engineer was setting up the shit for 4 hours. And we just slowed down and chilled, right? Like in the essay, I talked about the foreplay. The foreplay actually was part of the play. When I talk people, sometimes I would move around and dance before I do a painting or drawing or calligraphy or play music, right? People say, oh, that's the foreplay. Actually, the foreplay is already part of the play. It's all part of the improvisation. So by the time we're very ready, more than ready. That's why it's been described by Lucy, tsunami of sounds we created. Yeah, and the guitar is kind of rusty, right? Yeah. Oh. Am I talking too much? Yet again. Great. Just hollering among mountains. Our audiences are getting bored. I'm not. I can talk forever. You know that. You better just shut me up. Because talking is part of the shit I like to do when I feel like it. When I don't feel like it, I'm fucking silent. When I'm silent, that means I'm angry or just sleepy.